Hey, look! We switched different sides of the table. That didn't actually happen.
Oh, wow.
Okay, there we go.
Okay,
All right, let me turn this down.
now we're backwards, but that's okay.
Yeah, we're back though. Wow, that's bad. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Sorry we had some technical glitches. We were talking about the Hebrews text and about how one of the members of Jesus's genealogy was a prostitute who found protection by hiding some soldiers. It's a very similar story to what happens in what is thought to be one of the oldest texts of the Bible, and it's the story of Jael, Jael. And she was a woman who had a tent, and her husband was at war. And while her husband was away at war, the general from the opposing army came and asked for her to hide him. And because of the hospitality laws of the area, she felt like she had to do it. And in fact, she did, given the cultural custom. So she gave him warm milk and fed him and gave him a bed in the tent. And then while he was sleeping, she drove a tent peg through his head, and his blood ran into the ground. Why is this a feminist text, you ask? Well, it's a feminist text because it's a story of a woman who is able to kind of overcome the ideas about what her station in life was supposed to be, and she becomes this military hero, which in the book that she is a part of, I'm pretty sure it's Judges, it is an entire book that's about military might, and so she has proven herself stronger than the entire army by being able to capture the head of the other army that they were kind of chasing, and so she proved herself to be incredibly useful. Interesting timing that in our Lutheran church we now have our first female presiding bishop, Bishop Eaton, and who knows what this will mean for our Lutheran church. She begins on November 1st and will replace presiding Bishop Mark Hansen, who has been in office for 12 years. What I think is interesting and telling about this is that everyone else on the ballot in the final ballot round was women except for Mark Hansen, so it seems like there was kind of this desire to have some female leadership in the church, which I think is kind of exciting. It's something that, generations ago they would not have imagined to be possible because women were only allowed to be ordained as pastors in the late 70s. I think it was 77, if I'm right. Sometimes I make up numbers, though. 7 and 7 is like a perfect holy number, so it's a very biblical guess on my part, but I'm pretty sure it was in the 70s. And so I think it's an interesting time to see what's up in the Lutheran Church, and I'm excited we have some female leadership. This is also, today is the Feast of Mary, which is very exciting, and I'm hoping that that will be something that, sorry, I got distracted by a message that came on my screen. So today is the Feast of Mary, and we'll be celebrating Mary. I'll be at St. Francis Lutheran. We'll be celebrating the Feast of Mary there. Dawn, do you have anything to say about our new presiding bishop or the Feast of Mary or anything like
that? I get to hear one of the things they do when you get to like a final ballot is they have all of the candidates answer questions. And so I got to hear part of that broadcast where she was answering questions. And when they got down to the end, the last question was, is there anything else you want to tell us? And she got up and said, well, I'm not sure if you're looking for more information about me or my opinions. And she's like, I suppose I could tell you that I refereed basketball. That's one thing you may not know.
That's fun.
And so she has a sense of humor, which I think is going to be really important in the job as presiding bishop, because it's a whole lot of responsibility. And also at the end, she really pointed out that we three last candidates really do love each other, and I don't see this as a competition. And so she was very humble without being um, ingenuine about it. I mean, I thought that it was real, that she wasn't trying to portray herself in a good light by appearing humble, but that she actually was. So that makes me really hopeful.
I'm excited. It seems like there's a lot of really great leaders. The Episcopal Church have a presiding deacon or bishop that's also female. I'm kind of digging Pope Francis right now, aside from the weirdness about offering people time off of purgatory if they follow his Twitter feed, which maybe it was a joke, we don't know.
Yeah. But
I like his humility and the way he's been having some pretty cool stuff going on. So maybe we're in a new era of like rad leadership in the churches that we have. I would be super excited about that.
And doesn't the Lutheran Church of Canada also have a female bishop?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's our time, female-bodied pastors. Woo-hoo.
Well, and not too long ago, the Lutheran Church elected their first gay bishop. So
yeah, Guy.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
His name's Guy Irwin, and it happens to be in California, in Southern California. So.
Yeah, it'll be September 21st, and actually, it looks like we might be providing the live stream on Just Lutheran.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I'll be there, and our live stream will not suck like it's been sucking today, because we're going to get all the kinks worked out for a fancy day like that. September 21st, mark it down. We'll put the live stream up if you want to see what's going on there. I'm waiting for the final thumbs up approval from all of the people who are on the committee, but the folk I talked to sounded like they were pretty excited.
So, and it'll be a big fancy service, and the bishops will come dressed in their robes and regalia, and so if you want to see the Lutherans all dressed up, that'll be a good opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yay, Lutherans.
Yay.
And it's funny because right now Maria's our viewer. Hi, Maria.
Hi.
Thank you for being faithful during our technical difficulties. We love you. And I believe, Maria, that you're Roman Catholic, and so that's funny that we're being so Lutheran today. It's what we do. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Luke text that goes along with the Mary service for this Sunday. It's a little more interesting than Jesus saying we're all going to burn in the fire and he's going to make the world pure. So sorry that we just talked about that for a little while, but all the texts for the day are kind of downers. So when in doubt,
celebrate Mary.
Celebrate Mary. Exactly. So the text, I'll be posting it in just a little bit. If you're following along, it's Luke chapter 1, verses 39 through 46. And it's one that if you're familiar with the Bible text, or if you've ever done the Holden Evening Village service, the night service, you'll be familiar with it because it's the part that is Mary's Magnificat. If you don't know what a Magnificat is, but you've heard about it in art or music, Magnificat is just the song that Mary sings when she's delighted about being pregnant, and she goes to visit Mary, not Mary, she's Mary. She goes to visit Elizabeth, who is also pregnant, and it's this beautiful story because when they see each other, Elizabeth says her baby leaps in the womb out of joy of seeing them. And so it's like, when else in the Bible is there such a kind of beautiful woman-centric story? Like Luke definitely tries to still tell the story the way women would tell the story, very concerned about the bits of the story that a mom would tell, right? So the other Gospels don't have any conversation about what it's like for Mary to carry Jesus in the womb. Don't really have conversations about anything that happens before Jesus is old enough to be teaching in the temple. So this is a very unique Gospel, Luke's Gospel. So it's interesting that such a sensitive Gospel would have that same text about burning things with fire. But I guess a lot of boys have a burn things with fire phase when they want to set things on fire. I don't know. But this text is very beautiful. The Magnificat is is kind of a story of Mary taking and what could be seen as an unfortunate situation. She's told after she's already pregnant that she's pregnant. In today's society, we have a word for that. When you're told after, I'm not going to say it, but there's also some description of a dark cloud ascending on Mary, and some people wonder because it was the tradition of armies to come, and when they conquer an area, to conquer the women as well, read between the lines, and that this dark cloud might mean that something unfortunate or tragic happened to Mary, something that could cause a baby to be born 9 months later, and have it not be the father of the person that she dearly cares about. So it's unknown if this baby is conceived through a miracle of the baby Jesus. That's the most appropriate time to use that phrase. So it's unknown if this is a mystical, immaculate conception where, poof, she's pregnant. If anything is possible with God, then that too is possible. So much impossible stuff happens medically in our world. Who am I to say that that didn't happen? But there's also a possibility that something tragic happened. I mentioned that not to contradict the theology of people for whom the Immaculate Conception brings great power to Mary or allows them to think of her as the Queen of Heaven, or to challenge anyone's theology who has those beliefs, but really more to just say that because I know there are some people who are very science-minded, and unless they can find the grounding in science about the possibility that God could do something, they just kind of will dismiss the biblical text. So it's a possibility in the same way that it's a possibility that Mary was pregnant. So, but at this point in the text, how she gets pregnant is not as relevant. She's taken this difficult situation, or maybe it was a blessing, right? If you knew, think of all the heartache that happens when people try to plan a pregnancy, when they try to get pregnant. Now imagine that you have to plan the pregnancy of the Messiah to be born in the world, right? So all the pressure of getting pregnant compounded with the fact that this is going to be the Son of God. So maybe it saves you a whole lot of pain and worry to just be excited that you're pregnant rather than to have to do that. Like if God said, I want you to get pregnant with me, yeah, that would be really scary. So maybe it was a blessing that Mary found out about it later. Hard to know. But this text is an opportunity where young Mary, probably 15 or 16 from our guessing of when women were getting pregnant during this time in history, she takes what could be a burden, what could be an invasion of her body, and she makes it a place where she gets to claim her own strength, where she gets to proclaim, well, if I'm carrying this baby for 9 months, you better bring justice at the end of this journey, right? You better feed everybody who's hungry at the end of this journey. You better make sure all of this justice happens. And if God is the father of this child, then you can imagine all of the things that a pregnant woman might say to the father of her child during the 9 months she's pregnant and during the birthing process, and all the promises that might be something that mother wishes for that child. And Mary just phrases it in such a beautiful way. You just got to know that Luke, when he sat down to write this, spent a lot of time here and made it really good.
It actually comes from the Old Testament, from a character named Hannah, who was not able to have children, and she would pray in the temple every day that if she would have a child, that she would dedicate that child to God. And she got pregnant, and then she dedicated that child to the temple, and he became a priest.
After she laughed and laughed and laughed out of joy. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Yeah. So often what happens in the gospel readings is the texts are borrowed from somewhere. So particularly in times when Jesus is saying something that might be less fun, like I'm going to burn everyone with fire. Oftentimes you can find the place where it comes from that was said before. This is definitely one of those places that has allusions back to other spaces, but it's such a beautiful, beautiful text. I'm just going to read it because it's pretty. Ready? Here we go. My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior, for he has looked with favor on the loneliness of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed. For the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is God's name. God's mercy is for those who fear God from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant in Israel in the remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors and Abraham and his descendants forever. And this song really sets the tone of what all of Luke's gospel is about, which is talking about a time when there were people who had all the money and all of the riches, and they hoarded it. They kept it and put it in big silos. They didn't want to share their food, and I think they thought about 93% of the population was so poor they didn't know where their food was going to come from the next day, thus praying for your daily bread. And Mary sets the text. She sets it out that Luke's Jesus is going to turn this economic system upside down. And that's part of, you see this symbolically in churches. If you've ever been inside of a church that looks like this, that looks like an upside down boat, that's kind of the idea, is that God and the good news turn the world upside down and create a new order. So kings aren't in charge, sorry, Prince George, kings aren't in charge, the bankers aren't in charge, the people with the most money aren't in charge, but God is in charge. And if there are people who have laid claim to our lives and told us that we are slaves to them, then we get to proclaim that we are slaves to only one master. And it's not people who are bossing us around on earth. It's not our bosses, which are obnoxious. Not my bosses. Don's on my board. Other bosses. But it's not obnoxious neighbors. It's not anyone who could bug us in our daily life, that we have just kind of one person who gets to boss us around, and that's God. And so the entire book of Luke is kind of like the world's greatest nanner, nanner, nanner on a group of people, right? Because they're oppressed. They have people who are fighting against them. And so if you think of this, I'm gonna clear the world with fire text that Jesus is talking about, it fits really well if you see it within this rhythm of the Magnificat, that it's about making the world more equal, right? And starting anew and trying to have a new economy and a new way of equality. So it's not about throwing fire or throwing books of the Bible or throwing yucky people and making the Bible against them. So if you're taking this text and you're saying it proves something about a minority group, you're doing the opposite of Luke. Right? Luke is for the poor, it's for the oppressed, it's for the minority groups. And if you are not in the minority, the bits about fire are about you more than whomever you're mad at. Feel better? No, it doesn't feel better to say the fire's about them, does it? Not to me. Anyway. Sometimes I wish I could help edit some of the Bible books.
Well, maybe the fire is about purifying those bits of ourselves that would put others down, and helping us to see that they are human beings that deserve love and respect, just like we do. Or maybe it's about purifying the anger that we have with other people.
When in doubt, make it a metaphor.
Yeah.
Just not the parts about giving money to the poor and serving people.
Right.
Metaphors are only the parts of the Bible we don't like so much. When we're honest about how we read the Bible, right?
Yeah.
If you do that,
but that's a pretty
consistent.
But that's a pretty consistent theme throughout the Bible. I mean, if you look at all the times that God is angry when people are ignoring the poor or when they're not having hospitality or when they're trampling. I think from last week there was a passage where God says, that He hates their assemblies because they're trampling on His courts. Which is a really interesting image, that because they were so caught up in all the minute little tiny details of worship, and they forgot to feed the person that was starving
on the way in.
Yeah. And so God says that don't do that anymore.
God got bored with church.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
I know. What am I saying?
So that's cool to think about, that if you get bored in church, it's okay, because sometimes even God gets bored.
It's true. He just wanted them to do justice. You can. I'll post a link about the sermon I preached last week at St. Aidan's where I talked about that a little bit more. But yeah, it's an interesting. I like my favorite part about the Isaiah text. I'm skipping back to the chapter 12 again, from the fire, the burn the earth fire bit. I love the part where Jesus says, "You hypocrites, you know how to interpret the weather, but you don't know anything about anything." And it's such this beautiful, like, for me, it makes me giggle. No, well, it makes me giggle because, like, we have so much more technology than they did back then, and the news has, like, Doppler, who's what's it's, and live from a place where news happened earlier today. Like, we have all this technology, we have all the storm tracking live, and we have no idea what the weather is going to do tomorrow. Like they still get the 7-day forecast wrong, and we still can't predict the weather. But I just love this. I love imagining that they were so much better at it because they didn't use their storm tracker Doppler 7, who's what's it, and they just looked up and they saw a cloud coming and they went, "Oh, it's going to rain. There's a cloud over there. It's going to rain, everybody." Yeah, it makes me giggle.
How much time do we have for
recording? We're good because we started our time over.
Yeah, but we have the other one too.
That's okay, because we upload them separate.
Oh, okay.
And other thoughts we share amongst ourselves. We have to pay attention to the time so that it fits on YouTube. That's what that conversation was about. Because if you haven't seen it yet, we now have a Bible study that does an app that works on iPhones and on Android phones. And so we stopped using the Adobe Connect so that we would be able to upload videos to YouTube, which enables more people to watch them wherever they are, on the bus or wherever.
Yep.
The exciting thing about that is within the first 2 weeks of the app existing, 500 people had downloaded it.
Oh.
And so now each of our Bible studies is watched by about 130 people a week, and that's double what it was before. So yay all you people. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Those who like it because it's more progressive than maybe the worship that they get to participate in regularly. Yay, we're glad that we can help with that. If you're on the mobile app, there's a button that says get involved more, and there's a button that says I'd like pastoral care, and it emails me, but you can say I want to send this to Pastor Dawn or send this to Pastor Amanda, and people are okay with participating in that way. Now we're good. We'll just do another 7 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Well, yeah. Sorry, we're getting lots of warnings from these computers. It's a tough day.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want pastoral care, you can do that. You can email us. You can do a post on Facebook or wherever you find us.
Yeah.
We're not hard to Google.
No.
Pastoral care. But anyway, thank you for using the mobile app. Thank you for joining our Bible studies.
Yay. Yeah, and if you have questions too, feel free to email us with those too, and because we'd love to get a conversation going.
Yeah, it's been tough. We were able in the past to do like every
live
week.
Chat.
Yeah, and every week at this time, and so it was easier for people to put it in their calendar.
Yeah.
It's been, Pastor Amanda has asked us to keep her in her prayers because both Pastor Amanda and Pastor Don have been doing some transitioning lately, and so it's a little harder with our schedules to get all synced up. Pastor Amanda recently moved to Portland, Oregon, and is getting settled in at a new congregation there. Yay, new congregation. But her fancy video stuff has not arrived yet.
Oh no.
To her new location. She went first, and the stuff is coming next. So keep her in your prayers, and she'll be joining us again soon.
Cool. All right.
That's what happens. Is there more that we want to say about Bible study? Yay, Bible study. I'll post some more links soon, and sorry about all the technical difficulties. We'll get that worked out for next week.
Yeah. Yay. Well, at least we don't have all the background Starbucks noise.
Yeah, although people really like the Starbucks one.
Okay.
Hard to know. Anyway, we'll see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.